Welcome back. As Black History Month comes to a close, we remember one of the greats in the game of football and a pioneer of African-American athletics here in the Southern Tier. 12 News' Brian Melanson spoke with friends of teammates of Ernie Davis and tells us more on his legacy. Brian?
Thanks, Nicole. Of the hundreds of thousands of athletes to play Division I football, only 36 have won both a national championship and a Heisman Trophy during their career. Ernie Davis was the first African-American to accomplish both, yet when I asked those who knew Davis best, his accolades were never mentioned first. That's because Ernie Davis was not only an incredible player, but a Heisman Trophy human being. It is nearly impossible to go anywhere on the Syracuse University campus without being reminded of the greatness of Ernie Davis. The three-time All-American running back broke nearly every record set by his predecessor and fellow Syracuse legend, Jim Brown. Those who knew Davis best say that his character as a person far outpaced his production on the gridiron.
Records will be broken, but that character will never always stand. Anybody can be a great athlete, but none has matched the character of this guy.
As a young athlete growing up in Elmira, Davis remained humble despite his prowess as a budding star.
I remember throwing baseball with him in the street, hiking to him and going out for a pass. Jim Brown was great, but there'll never be another Ernie Davis. And I guess that epitomized what kind of person he was.
Davis's alma mater, Elmira Free Academy, has since been renamed to Ernie Davis Academy in his honor. The three-sport athlete followed in the footsteps of his idol Brown and committed to play football at Syracuse, where he quickly lived up to his nickname, the Elmira Express.
Ernie, they got there, and of course he, young and nervous, and trying to get things going. But on the field, speed, power, and just had all the pieces, And boom, the rest is history.
Quickly, Davis became one of the most prolific players in college football as he helped lead the Orange to its first and only national championship in 1959.
He didn't so much run as Ernie Davis would glide. He was able to move so fast while looking effortless doing it. It was just impossible to close ground on him.
As much as an impact Davis had on the gridiron, decades later, teammates and coaches remember him for his impact off of the field first.
And as we're coming in, I asked Coach Swartzword, I said, Coach, what are your recollections of Ernie Davis? He looked at me and tears were flowing out of his eyes. And he said, Ernie Davis was like a saint.
He was as great as an athlete he was as great a gentleman. He was a tremendous person, individual, great to be around.
They say Davis never let any criticism against him get the best of him.
But he let his anger translate into performance on the field. He wanted to help make the world a better place, and he knew that football was one way to do it.
In 1961, Davis was in a close Heisman race with Ohio State running back Bob Ferguson. Either one would have been the first African-American to win the award presented to the best player in college football.
Who has shown that he's just a very polite, humble, dedicated student athlete. I think that created a perfect storm to help get him just that little nudge he needed.
Shortly after, Davis was drafted number 1 overall and traded to the Cleveland Browns for a much-anticipated reunion with Jim Brown. Unfortunately, Davis never made his NFL debut as he passed away after a battle with leukemia. He was 23.
When he passed away, and I heard the news from my mother, and I was just devastated.
62 years later, Davis's legacy continued to live on and laid a foundation for future generations.
Well, I would say this, that Ernie Davis laid the foundation for the success of African-American football players playing Division I-A football in colleges throughout this whole country.
And to those who loved him, Ernie Davis, the Elmira Express, will never be forgotten.
If everybody could act to the human nature, to the populace as Ernie did, this would be a much, much better world, without a doubt.
To them, the Elmira Express will keep on rushing into eternity. Ernie Davis may have never played a snap of professional football, but the legacy that he imposed on the game and those who knew him will long outlive any bronze bust in Canton. Reporting in studio, Brian Melanson, 12 News.